In this module, we're going to talk about other health impairments. And in this brief video, we're going to look at the definition of other health impairments, also known as OHI, along with how the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 comes alongside this area of need through a Section 504 plan. I first want to draw your attention to the title, though, of other health impairment. These are health impairments. These are not educational disabilities from the standpoint of being identified by a school psychologist. Rather, these are health needs. Therefore, these areas of need must be identified by a licensed physician. This is why even attention deficit disorder, which falls under this category, cannot be diagnosed by a public school or even private psychologist. It is a medical disability. So let's take a moment here and let's look at the definition to get us started. Other health impairment means having limited strength, vitality, or alertness, including a heightened alertness to environmental stimuli that results in limited alertness with respect to the educational environment that is due to chronic or acute health problems, such as asthma, attention deficit disorder, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, diabetes, epilepsy, a heart condition, hemophilia, lead poisoning, leukemia, nephritis, rheumatic fever, and sickle cell anemia, and adversely affects a child's educational performance. These are areas that physicians diagnose, and physicians make the determination as to whether or not they recommend accommodations or even special education services for a child with one of these diseases. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we're going to talk a little bit about the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504. Now, I know we talked about this in the introductory video, but let's take a look at this through the lens of the child with special needs. For a child to qualify for special education, they need not only special education services, but they may also need modifications and accommodations. However, for the child who has an other health impairment, they may not need special education services or modifications. They may only need an accommodation plan. So let's take a look at the accommodation plan. Under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, there's a section called Section 504, and this is the language that we often hear in education. It's the section underneath that law. But the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is not part of special education law. This is a civil rights law. And children who qualify for accommodations and have a Section 504 plan or an accommodation plan, by law, have the right to be provided accommodations only. And many children with health impairments receive accommodations under a 504 plan or this accommodation plan. Keep in mind, too, that the accommodation plan or Section 504 plan does not have to be amended as often as a child who has an IEP or an IFSP. Accommodation plans are amended and updated as determined by a group of general education teachers, the 504 coordinator for your district, to make that determination when a plan needs to be adjusted or maybe that the student actually does need special education services. I hope this information is helpful as you move through the module.